Hello everyone. 2020 Third African Martial Arts webinar is just about to start. We kindly ask all the viewers to stay in tune and turn on the ICM's YouTube channel or our Facebook Live page. Thank you. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, and all the speakers and guests and viewers online. Thank you very much for participating and watching the 2020 Third African Martial Arts webinar. I am Chang Han, Program Specialist of UNESCO International Center of Martial Arts. I will be your MC for today and tomorrow. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you from home and abroad, especially from Africa to the world, to this online web seminar. We will go through the main theme of martial arts for African youth and women, and it is scheduled to be held online as in virtual conference today and tomorrow. And you can watch through both YouTube and Facebook Live. Second, I would like to inform you that this webinar provides English to Korean simultaneous interpretations. Please use both English channel and Korean channel at your language convenience in YouTube. Facebook page just offers English channel, and I'm afraid we could not prepare the French interpretation, but we will fix and figure out those who do not speak English or Korean after the webinar is over. Thank you for your kind understanding in advance. And now, the opening session will begin, and Secretary General of UNESCO ICM, Mr. Chang-hyun Park, will declare the opening with his welcoming address. Please welcome him to the stage.
Good afternoon, dear distinguished participants and all the viewers from home and abroad. Nice to meet you all. And I would like to welcome you all 2023 African Martial Arts Web Seminar. I am Chang-hyun Park, Secretary General of UNESCO ICM. It is great to see you all online. This consecutive Third African Martial Arts Seminar was to be held in Harare, Zimbabwe this year. However, as we all know, we are now meeting together on the web through the online due to the current state of COVID-19 pandemic, which remains uncertain. I regret to say we cannot gather together in person, but I sincerely hope this virtual meeting will be another way of communication between ICM and Africa, and making a special relationship for our mutual cooperation in the future. During the seminar, we will discuss the main theme of martial arts for African youth and women. And I believe that this webinar will be a valuable opportunity to explore present conditions and challenges of African youth and women faced, and to raise the awareness of positive role of martial art, and to seek how to educate them. Now, I would like to use this online gathering to think about how to contribute more to Africa in order to achieve our ICM missions. Now, our program specialist, Chang Han, in charge of this webinar, will introduce all the participants, but there are 12 African representatives from various parts of Africa who wish to participate in the webinar and actively cooperate with us. I understand Africa has different cultures in various countries and regions, and the current situation of COVID-19 is totally different. Through this webinar, I think this time will be a great platform to hear diverse opinions from other countries and regions, and share the situation and story from each country. In addition, I would like to deliver good news. The new building of ICM has been constructed here in Chungju, Republic of Korea, and opened recently. Our building has a multi-purpose hall international conference hall, and a number of seminar rooms. And many martial arts organizations in Korea will move in the ICM building. Please visit our homepage for more details. Lastly, I hope that this global pandemic will end as soon as possible and meet you all in person here in Chungju. Once again, I want to convey my sincere gratitude to all the participants and viewers in this webinar, and wish you all health and happiness. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary General, for your kind greeting and official opening announcement. Next, Madam Margaret Chairapa, Secretary General of Zimbabwe National Commission for UNESCO, will give us her welcoming remark by sending us voice message. Following that, Madam Amaserua Nerukia Tete, Secretary General of Ghana National Commission for UNESCO, will convey her congratulatory remarks for opening of ICM's new building here in Chungju City, Korea, and celebrating 2020 Third African Martial Arts Webinar. Then we shall begin session 1.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, martial arts family, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the UNESCO International Center for Martial Arts for organizing this seminar in collaboration with UNESCO member states in Africa and their national commissions for UNESCO. As you may recall, the first 2 meetings were held in the eastern and western regions of Africa in 2018 and 2019 respectively. The third meeting was scheduled to take place in Zimbabwe. However, due to the current state of the COVID-19 pandemic, ICM decided to host the third African regional meeting online. As such, Zimbabwe is honored to be part of this important online meeting. We appreciate that ICM recognizes UNESCO's global priorities, Africa and gender, as well as one of the cross-cutting priorities, youth. This is clearly articulated by this year's theme, which reads, Martial Arts for African Youth and Women. By focusing on these priorities, ICM is assisting member states to empower women and youth and ensure their active participation in the development agendas of their countries. In view of this year's theme, I would like to urge you all to appreciate the significant role that martial arts plays in the socio-economic development agenda for African youth and women. Discussions should bring possible solutions to the current challenges that the youth, particularly women and girls, face in this male-dominated sport of martial arts. It is also my hope that participants will come up with a way forward for the martial arts program given the COVID-19 pandemic. Let us use this meeting to share experiences on how women and youth participate in this sport, which I understand is viewed as a way of life. These experiences should zero in on the challenges and opportunities that can be encountered and enjoyed, especially during this very trying time of COVID-19. I hope the 2 days will maximize the opportunities brought about by this seminar to interact and share strategies on how to improve the martial arts program in our different parts of the continent now and after the COVID-19 pandemic has come to pass. Once again, congratulations to UNESCO ICM for successfully organizing this seminar. I thank you.
Hello from Ghana National Commission for UNESCO. I'd like to say congratulations to UNESCO ICM Category 2 Center of Excellence for Martial Arts on your new premises and moving into your new building. I'm hoping that this new addition adds more to your work and we are able to support each other more in the coming years. I also like to say we are looking forward to the webinar in November on martial arts in Africa, and we wish you all the very best with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Madam Secretary Generals from Ghana and Zimbabwe, for sending us precious congratulatory messages to celebrate our consecutive event in Africa. This third round of African Congress was supposed to be held in Zimbabwe, Harare this year. However, as we mentioned, we have mutually decided to host this time through online due to the current state of COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for your support once again. And now, I would like to invite Professor Han Gon-soo from Gangwon National University in Republic of Korea for his keynote speech under the title of the Retrospect and Prospect of African Regional Martial Arts Congress from 2018 to 2020. Please welcome him to the stage.
Good morning and good afternoon and good evening, my African colleague and friends. Thank you for inviting me this third Africa Regional Martial Arts Congress again. Today, as a keynote speech, I'd like to review what we've done last 2 years, and also after this year, what we should do for the future. So in the beginning, I just review briefly. 2 years ago, when I went to Kenya at the time, I raised a basic question to all of us. What is ICM's mission and what should be our Africa Regional Martial Arts Congress? At the first, I suggest to review the UNESCO general visions. UNESCO itself is established to build up peace of culture. But when you talk about the martial arts, some people misunderstand that martial arts is for the combat and military technology. The reason why we choose martial arts as a UNESCO Category 2 institution's new mission to deliver for the human society, it is because martial arts should be a tool for the making peace of culture. So the ICM's mission is also to develop use African traditional martial arts to establish the youth and the women's involvement for the future. To do that, I suggest that our program is not for only rediscover African traditional martial arts. We should relate it to the education. So I suggest the global educational agenda of UNESCO to think about this ICM's Regional Martial Arts Congress in Africa. First one, the education for peace, and also global citizenship education, and education for sustainable development, or education for gender equality, and also education for cultural diversity. So to do that, in the second Africa Regional Martial Arts Congress in Accra, Ghana, I suggest to research African martial arts at the level of intangible cultural heritage. For example, in African martial arts, there are small number of traditions inscripted in UNESCO as the intangible cultural heritage. So in this Congress, we need to do our effort to re-study about African traditional martial arts, not just the superficial research. We need to introduce some empirical research, and also we need to meet many experts in Africa so we can provide African martial arts inscript to the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage list. And another one is, I suggest to you, for example, we need to connect our activities to practice the global societies and sustainable development goals. For example, among the SDGs, Goal 3, Goal 4, Goal 5, all objects are related to martial arts. Goal 3, for the health, African martial arts should be used as a tool to keep and promote African youth health. The second, for goal 4, early childhood development and gender equality and inclusion, education for sustainable development and global citizenship education. This kind of the SDG goals, they are closely related with martial arts. So I suggest to my colleagues to rethink how martial arts contribute to fulfill this purpose of goal 4 of SDGs. For example, education for sustainable development and education for human rights, education for gender equality, and also peace education. And another one is preventing violent extremism through education, strengthening the rule of law through education. I introduced you, sorry, I didn't show you the PowerPoint. For Sustainable Development Goal 4, I listed many global education agenda. And another one is, for example, preventing violent extremism through education and strengthening the rule of law through education. The martial arts can be used as a guideline for the youth, self-discipline, and also the making cultural peace. And another one is Sustainable Development Goal 5 for the gender equality. In Africa, we have many issues. For example, the differentiation between male and female education, it is serious social issues in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. And also eliminating all forms of violence against all women and girls. It is very urgent and international concern to fulfill. And because of this, the African martial arts, it can be it can be enhanced, the African women to participate in society and also to fulfill their will and their life as a public life in African societies, and also improving equal opportunity for the leadership itself. This kind of all global education agenda, the UNESCO always emphasized Africa priority principles. So ICM and also Africa Regional Congress for Martial Arts, we should think about how we fulfill these global goals. For example, in Africa still, in the school, there are many young children who are suffered as school bullying and also some physical abuse, physical fight in the school. Look at this diagram. Still sub-Saharan Africa, there are many issues of school bullying and physical fight and physical attacks. Martial arts can be used as a self-discipline for all the youth people to solve this the violence problem in the schools. As a conclusion, I'd like to suggest to you that in the future, the youth is a very important people in Africa. For example, many democratic experts, they always emphasize that African continent is the youngest continent in the world. Right now, the 77% of the population of African continent is below the age of 35. And also, average age of African is 19 years old. It is very unique. And by the 2050, 2 in every 5 children will be born in Africa. So it means the future of African continents, it depends on the education and also the support for the youth people in Africa. So the youth itself is challenges and opportunities for the African development. Think about that. Increase of all youth population, especially in East and West Africa, it is the central places for the increasing number of the youth population. Based on the demographic statistics, by the end of 21st century, 2/3 of African youth will be in the West and East Africa. One example is by 2050, 1/5 of children under 18-year-old in Africa will live in Nigeria. So it depends on the future of Africa is depend on the youth, how we educate, how we support them for the social development, not just the economy and culture and social development. When we think about this, the ICM and Africa Regional Congress should emphasize the importance of the youth in African continent. So from now, I suggest that youth should be recognized as an essential agent of change as leaders, educators, advocates, and learners. So the youth campaign through diverse social media, SNS and YouTube, this kind of the campaign is very urgent for the martial arts field. And also creating the social space for the youth to speak about peace, self-discipline, global citizenship, and cultural diversity issues. We need to provide them a platform to discuss, to encourage each other for these issues. Youth leadership workshop on martial arts should be extended to program of SDGs and global citizenship education and another African youth issues. So I suggest that UNESCO ICM is committed to empowering youth by providing a platform where young people can meet, share, and work together to drive changes toward a culture of peace. One example is that UNESCO ICM, they published this year traditional martial arts as intangible cultural heritage. It is very finest, good research books. As I mentioned last year in Ghana, we should try to publish African martial arts as intangible cultural heritage. We need to focus more on African martial arts. To do that, we need to research and we need to discuss and we need to develop various parts of sub-Saharan Africa and what is their traditional martial arts and how we will use these traditional martial arts for the youth and women's involvement in Africa. So we will conclude our regional congress this year, but it is now the first step to restart. So I suggest ICM and my African colleagues, we need to discuss and think what will be our next step, what will be our next vision for the African Martial Arts Congress. So I suggest to UNESCO, I suggest to ICM, so we need to focus how we empower for African martial arts experts to study, to research about their own tradition, and also how they use this tradition for the youth and women. So another suggestion is that we need to develop the program, educational program, not just the martial arts training. We need to use martial arts training for the global citizenship education and also education for peace building, education for preventing extreme violence, education for gender equality. So from now, ICM and African Regional Martial Arts Congress expert, we need to turn on our interest, not just for martial arts. We need to move on next step for the educational program for the youth and women. I think this year's conference is very the good start because our following sessions will discuss about the youth issues and also women's education or the empowering for women's role in African martial arts. So I hope this kind of discussions and movement is going on. So for the future, when we meet again as the African Martial Arts Congress, we can discuss more detailed and also more successful case stories to discuss about, to fill out our mission as a martial arts for the women and the youth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Han, for the informative and insightful presentation on African youth and women and the future of African Martial Arts Congress. He went through the historical moment of African Martial Arts Congress since 2018 from Kenya, and he sheds light on the idea of connection between SDGs and African martial arts for youth and women empowerment. It is necessary to research on the African martial arts tradition and its UNESCO ICH inscription. And more actual programs for African youth and women should be implemented with the UNESCO vision. In relation to that, ICM's potential role is enormous and prospective in the near future. Now, we are going to conclude opening ceremony, and as now we are having a short intermission, we will watch introductory video of UNESCO ICM in terms of promotion and public relations for our ICM's new building constructed in Chungju City, Korea, and understanding of our ICM missions and mandates. Let's watch it together now.
Mutual respect, cultural diversity, resilience, self-discipline, and fairness. With the educational values of martial arts, ICM promotes a culture of peace and nonviolence. Established in 2016, ICM has been endeavoring for the development of youth and women and the achievement of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations 2030 Agenda. Based on the reconciliation philosophy of martial arts, we reduce violence around the world, provide martial arts education for women, promote equal learning opportunities, and protect and preserve cultural heritage. ICM shares the positive values of martial arts with the whole world. We encourage research and knowledge sharing by implementing studies on world martial arts, the Martial Arts Research Initiative for Experts, and the Northeast Asia Martial Arts Forum. We develop and manage a clearinghouse on martial arts by providing educational videos, an inclusive martial arts online platform, and reports on youth development through martial arts. We support youth exchange and capacity building through the International Youth Martial Arts Camp, the International Martial Arts Academic Seminar, and the UNESCO ICM Martial Arts Demonstration Team. We foster cooperative relationships between developed and developing countries by hosting the African Regional Martial Arts Congress and the Martial Arts Open School. Home of Korea's traditional martial art, Taekyeon, Chungju has been endeavoring to catalyze positive changes through the realization of martial arts values. Based in Chungju, Republic of Korea, ICM will continue to share the values of martial arts with more individuals. As a venue for international exchange and cooperation, ICM will collaborate with diverse networks and enable new possibilities for martial arts. We aim to create a better society, a new stage for martial artists to pursue their dreams. With the values of martial arts and the potential of youth, ICM will contribute to a peaceful world. ICM, for a well-being and cohesive humanity.
Thank you for watching. That was our new promotional video, and if you want to find more information about ICM, please visit our webpage unescoicm.org or just Google UNESCO International Center of Martial Arts. And there will be a lot more information, and also we have new brochures printed. Next, we will start session 1 under the title of Current Problems and Challenges that African Youth and Women Faced. In session 1, Mr. Ali Hassan from Sudan, who is CEO of 3S Sports and former Secretary General of Sudanese Taekwondo Federation, and Dr. Jang Eun-ha from Korea, Director of Korean Women's Development Institute, and Madam Avina Nkrumah from Ghana, Chairman of Ashanti Brong Afo Colleges of Education and Sports Association. And the session 1 would be moderated by ICM Executive Board Member Sir Agan Odero Agan from Kenya. Please welcome him and render your interest and passion to the session 1. Thank you, Mr. Agan. 소리가 안 나온다는 챗이 달렸나요? 음성이 안 들어온다고 합니다.
We've got Dr. Chang Ha from the Republic of Korea. We've got also Ms. Abena Adasa Nkrumah from the Republic of Ghana. And we've got also Mr. Ali Suleiman Hussein from Sudan. Each of them is going to take us through their presentations. Hopefully, each is going to take average of 20 minutes. And we welcome everybody to give them a keen listening. You will have the opportunity to post questions and comments on our chat. And at the same time, you can also, through those who are viewing the YouTube, also to post in questions that they will be responding to after the session, so that when we open it up for other participants, we'll be able to get them to respond and explain more. As already been underscored by the keynote speaker, we are moving into an arena where we need to be able to research more into the intangible cultural heritage of martial arts in our African societies, and also connecting that with education, especially of women and the young people. This particular session is going to focus on the challenges and the problems that are faced by women, girls, young people, in terms of navigating their growth and their development as related to martial arts as practiced now in Africa. And these three panelists are going to adequately take us through that in their different ways. So I would want, without wasting any much time, to welcome our three panelists. And I would want to give the first opportunity for Dr. Han to take the opportunity to do the presentation that she has, which is focused mainly on the challenges that women and youth face when it comes to issues of martial arts and their growth in different levels. So welcome. Please, can we have the first panelist?
Okay. Am I going first? I'll share.
Yes.
I'll do the share, the screen share.
순서가
Yeah, you go first, Chang.
Yes. Just 1 minute, please. Okay. Thank you for that introduction. My name is Eunha Chang, and I'm from Korean Women's Development Institute. This is a government institute dedicated for gender and family policy research in Korea. And I'm very honored and glad to be with this wonderful conference today. So the title of my presentation today is Girls' Education, Empowerment, and Martial Arts. Just to make you a note that I'm not a specialist in martial arts. I'm not a specialist in sports, but I do study girl and in more detail some of the international global issues regarding the girls. These are the contents of my presentation today. So first, I would like to go a little bit overview of the situation and issues related with girls in Africa. Second part, I'd like to give you an analytical framework on girls' empowerment. This was a part of a study that our institute carried out about 3 or 4 years ago, and we have developed a framework I'll introduce. And then third part, I'm going to speak a little bit about girls in sports, centering on 2 case studies, but focusing one specific one on Taekwondo. The fourth part will be martial arts and gender equality. This section will be rather throwing out some of the question and some of the future agendas that we should actually all delve into in order to realize girls and women's empowerment through and in martial arts. So first few slides are some of the statistics. I'll just read through. You can just follow me with my slides. After the MDG and entering into SDG, primary education and the parity between men and girls and boys in primary education has mostly been achieved. So it's mostly over 90% all around the world. But when it comes to secondary education, 75% of girls worldwide complete lower secondary education, but only 40% do so in Africa. And here, I don't like to group like the whole African continent into one statistics, but just to give us some overview of this situation here. 2/3 of people who are illiterate worldwide are women, and 2/3 of African people who are illiterate are women. And you can see on this map is actually from UNESCO, that the darker areas here are the more women, less than 50% illiterate area. So you can see overall what's going on in terms of literacy. It is estimated that more than 200 million girls and women alive today have undergone female genital mutilation in the countries where the practice is concentrated. So this practice is actually concentrated. It's quite global, but especially in Africa and South Asia. So we don't have African statistics here, but in these countries, FGM is also a problem. African countries account for 15 of the 20 countries with the highest rates of child marriage globally. In sub-Saharan Africa, 1 in 3 girls is married before her 18th birthday. In 14 sub-Saharan countries, between 30 and 51% of girls give birth before they are 18. So here we talk about early childbirth, which can be a health problem to women, to girls, and also for the newborn baby. According to the United Nations, 80% of women ages 15 to 24 who have HIV globally live in sub-Saharan Africa and across the continent, and girls aged 15 to 19 are 5 times more likely to be infected with HIV than boys. So I just would like to emphasize that adolescent girls are especially vulnerable in this kind of situation because as you know, the adolescence, this is the age when the girl starts to menstruate. This is the age where girls become very vulnerable to various situations around that surrounds her. So reproductive age from 15 to 44 years, we especially see some of these issues arising. And these are some of the charts that I won't go into, but some of the issues related with adolescent girls, FGM we talked about, early marriage, early sexual activity, sexual abuse, harassment, exploitation, unwanted pregnancy and unsafe abortion, perinatal death, and HIV/AIDS. Okay. For the girls, usually they are trapped in vicious cycle, meaning when the girls, these adolescent girls, they begin periods, some of the items that are needed for these girls to support these girls are lacking. For example, no sanitary napkins. At school, boys make fun of her. School begin being too far, they have to travel far. These girls tends to drop out. What do they do at home? At community, they do house chore, and they are sometimes fall victim to drug abuse, violence against girls, and all these problems that we talked about just in prior slides. And especially if they are not in school, girls' futures are at stake. They have less employment, less education, and all this vicious cycle continues, and these issues are interrelated. Now, in this part, I'd like to go into some of the analytical framework for girls' empowerment. These are some of the research that I found out after doing this research, that girls they have a very peculiar developmental characteristics that actually distinguishes from boys. Adolescents in general, girl and boys together, they in during their adolescence, they undergo a rapid development physically, as we all agree, secondary sex characteristics. They go into the psychological change. Their egos start to develop. They become a little bit unstable. They show impulsive behavior, and they want to become socially independent. Time and space shifts from home boundary to school or society. So these adolescent kids, they want to go out further. They want to explore further out of their home. If their parents act as a home base, then these adolescents become more independent. If they have close relationship with parents, that leads to comfortable relationship with others. So this is typical characteristics of adolescence. How about girls? What are some of the special traits that girls shows during adolescence? Surprisingly, and I am sure that you have observed this in many different settings, girls tend to be less confident than boys despite higher test scores. So even if girls they have very good grades, it is the boys who actually tends to exaggerate their school achievements and be very confident if though they don't have a very high grades. Girls have higher interaction than boys with peers. Girls show higher attachment to peers than boys. Girls want to be separated from their mothers, just as boys do from home during adolescence. But daughter-mother relationship becomes deeper with time. And this is girls are more relationship oriented than boys. So these just bear in mind these characteristics that girls face as they go into adolescence. And these are the factors that affect girls. So this is the individual girl here. And these are all the issues that are related with girls that we have just looked into. Outside of this individual level, you see community level that affects girls, which are some village committee or schools. There could be women's groups in the community that could affect girls' lives. At the national level, you have government or NGOs. At the regional level, you have some, regional entities, and then international level, you have NGOs, UN, development banks, donor agencies that can actually, with the aid, these are all different level that can affect girls' development. And when it really actually helps to look at girls from this kind of framework. Okay, for girls, there are many forces at work that kind of affects girls' lives. If you can break it down into four: family, school, community, work. At school, teacher and peers. At community, you have village leader and neighbors, friends. Of course, in family, you have parents, siblings, husband, and child. At work, you have your boss, your trainer, your colleagues, or whatnot. So it these are some of the frameworks that I've used for my research for the girls. And I think I'm going to skip this slide and just go into the next case studies because I don't have much time. Okay, so now I would like to actually go into how the sports can actually help girls from this adolescent stage or before, how it can actually develop their physical strength and also psychologically the sports helps. First, I looked into this sports rugby. Yeah, this is a rugby sports team that's actually run by Child Fund. You know, this international NGO Child Fund. It works around the globe. They have actually started this rugby team sports in Southeast Asian countries, including girls and boys together. And they have actually incorporated some life skill contents into this rugby sports team playing. And it has shown some good results, and you can maybe later look into it. And especially for in terms of gender aspects, they have done this impact assessment about this their program of this passive back, the rugby program. 90% of the female players and 80% of male players have the attitude that failure is an acceptable experience of being a good leader. Moreover, over 50% of female players entirely disagree with the statement, a good leader never fails. So you see, like 90% of the girls, they have shown positive attitude change after being playing in this team. And over 60% of female and 30% of male players entirely disagree that females have less capacity than males to learn new skills. So I'm not really sure about this number from the male, but female girls, they themselves have their self-esteem and self-confidence have actually increased after participating in this sports, in this rugby team. Next study, I actually looked into Taekwondo a program in refugee camp. This was also introduced in the Olympic website as a camp to champs, and you can see like the wording camp, the refugee camp to champs, the champions. And this is, I actually wanted to see this video together during the conference, but because of the technical reason, I've actually brought some photos instead of watching them all together. So this is a program run by a Korean NGO inside the Syrian refugee camp in Zaatari camp. And as you can see, World Taekwondo Federation partners with the Korea Refugee Project by sending them educational and medical personnel and Taekwondo instructors. So you see this Taekwondo instructor was sent to this refugee camp, and they are actually running the Taekwondo class. This is the morning jogging that they are doing at every 9 a.m. in the morning. And these are the boys, but here in the back, you see some girls. And what's interesting is that because girls, they cannot, after adolescence, they cannot move around really freely. So they actually bring these girls from school. They pick up girls and boys together from their home and bring it to this gym. And girls and boys, they learn together Taekwondo. And you see these girls are very much into the physical activity. And this girl you see very powerful. And in this video, I recommend that you watch this later, that these coach who are actually sent to this refugee camp to teach these children, he says that he was very surprised to find that girls can do this and that sometimes girls have much more energy than boys. And he testifies that this was very surprising to him. And it's, you know, this in refugee camps where it's very packed, and also adolescent, these girls and boys, they don't have much thing to do, and they just, you can see in the video, and they just love this activity, their physical activity. And it in actually taekwondo, it's not only training of body, it's training of mind, and you will see their excitement and their mind control and whatnot in this video. So maybe I'll just skip. This is one of the introduction of the youth targeted program in this Zatari camp. And you see, after involvement of many girls and women in youth program, they testifies that it was very empowering for them. And one thing that I'd like to mention here, that for girls, female youth participants, whether it's a sports or any kind of youth program, they say that family and community expectations and domestic roles that girls play, for example, carrying out domestic chores, marriage and childcare responsibilities, it's one of the obstacles that confines them home and prevents them from participating in this kind of activities. I have about 3 more slides to go and I will wrap up. Here in the last part, I would like to, this is my, I'd like to throw these topics for our future research, future discussion, and future thinking for everyone who's in this sector. I would like to mention about gender equality through martial arts. So let's achieve gender equality through martial arts. Gender equality in martial arts, meaning we need to secure gender equality in sports and also in martial arts. So you know this better than I do. Benefits of martial arts for adolescents, for girls and boys as well. It has psychological benefits. It has physical fitness and skills benefits. It's self-defense. This is important, especially for girls from sexual harassment, exploitation, and violence. Life lessons. And most of all, it's fun. So these are some great benefits. And I just really hope that girls and boys, they all together enjoy these benefits. Here I brought one example where gender equality and girls empowerment can be promoted through martial arts. So this is a martial art, a very famous person, Taekwondo champion, Daler Turiaev from the Tajikistan, and he's like a star. He is with a member of the National Taekwondo and Kickboxing Federation, and UNFPA and UN Women have actually partnered together with him to begin this campaign with the boys to end gender-based violence. So this has been a huge campaign. They actually carry out this campaign with the boys, a lot of videos, media campaigns, and this is one of the example where martial arts can promote gender equality. And last slide is a little bit of grim and sad example that gender equality should be promoted in sports and as well as in martial arts as well. This is a case of South Korea, very recent case in South Korea where female sports player was abused sexually, and this has been a huge issue in South Korea. And this should not be happening, but it is happening not only in South Korea, but worldwide. We have seen some case in US too recently. The gymnast and his doctor has harassed this very young gymnastic player. So this should not be happening, and we should also promote gender equality, prevent any kind of sexual, eliminate any kind of sexual abuse or sexual exploitation against women in sports as well as in martial arts. And this is the end of my presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chang. That was quite inspiring. She has been able to underscore how sports can be able to help girls develop in terms of their physical as well as their psychological attributes, and this is quite critical, especially during these times. It's a question and a concern that is very current in Africa. She has definitely underscored and emphasized that through engagement in physical activities, especially martial art, there has been proof that girls have developed higher self-esteem and confidence. And this is something that is also quite important, especially in our current African context. And also it has been very clear from our presentation that in instances where training programs have been run for youth, there has been a clear indication that girls and young women especially do respond extremely well, given the kind of feedback that people who are facilitating these programs, especially coaches of martial arts programs, have been able to share after they've gone through these programs. And this is something that is critical for UNESCO ICM to follow up in terms of encouraging those programs to reach as many young people as possible, especially the girls. It is very important that Dr. Chang has underscored the need to find ways and means through ICM of making sure that issues of gender equality, issues that can be able to enhance the confidence and the building of the potential of girls and young women through martial arts is something that should be the concern of UNESCO, ICM, and especially the participants from the African subcontinent, so that it informs the kind of programming that probably we're going to think through as we go ahead, following up on the challenge and also the advice that the keynote speaker did have. And I think those are very important points that this presentation presents, which will be able to help us inform our next actions. But at this particular point, I would want to open it up for anybody who might be having a question for Dr. Chang. Could be a comment, could be a question on her presentation so far. Do you have any question that has cropped up from our participants? Anybody listening in or from the other platform? I think we are also having streaming through YouTube. If the Secretariat can help in terms of looking for anybody who has been able to post a question that Dr. Chang can respond to. There is a question that has come through, and I would want Dr. Chang to respond to this. Somebody is asking, how are we going to persuade young women to participate in martial arts, especially when we focus on traditional indigenous martial art forms? I think it is a question on how then, given the kind of attitudes, I think you did point out certain particular challenges and barriers that are experienced, especially at community level, and also in some kind of cultural attitudes. How then now, given that kind of background, are we going to persuade young people, especially young women, to participate in martial arts? Could be programs, activities that are organized, or even they themselves can be able to initiate, focusing much more on traditional martial arts. So, Dr. Chang, could you be able to respond to that?
I'll be brief because I understand where the question comes from, because I know that the case that I shared is a very special case of refugee camp, right? Where any kind of activity is appreciated. But in terms of just a very peaceful environment, or where the just in countries there where we live, I think there are a couple of ways, but I'm not sure, this is just top of my head, where this could be the real solution. First of all, I think it is important that the exposure to martial arts by the girls is very important. The girls, they have to know, or the community or the family, the parents, they have to know the benefits of the martial arts that I talked about. This could be done through, I don't know, maybe some promotion of martial arts in general in the public through, I don't know, showing in the TV programs some of the martial arts sports games. And second of all, I think it will help if this martial arts program, even if it's an introductory session, it's included in the school program as one small session. I don't know, in the fourth grade physical PE class or something like that. And then third one that I could think of now is maybe having a woman leader, or the, like, for example, like a martial art champion, woman champion. She becomes more vocal in your country and become like an ambassador, so that many girls can look up to. Oh, if I do martial arts, I can become like her. So having a mentor or having a leader who is actually have a background in martial arts, or who is a champion in taekwondo, in female taekwondo, or something like this, that could also help too. But we can, this is something that we should like all sit down and maybe come up with some good solutions.
Thank you very much on that.
Mr. Agan, excuse me. This is Hans speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
I'm terribly sorry to interrupt you, but could you just proceed all the presentations together and then,
Then have the question.
Yeah. Let's talk about we have a discussion to the end of the presentation. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
That would be more convenient to discuss all the issues coming up.
Okay.
Is that okay? So maybe now second speaker Ali Hassan is preparing for that. So can we do that?
Yes, I think we should have the other two presenters, and after that we'll be able to open it up. And the questions could specifically go to a given presenter, or could be a general question that any of the presenters in the panel can respond to.
Okay.
So as suggested, we move on to the second presenter. And the second presenter is Mr. Ali Suleiman Ali Hussein. Ali is an expert professional in global sports management. He's a citizen of the Republic of Sudan. And he lives in the capital city of Sudan, that is Khartoum. He's going to take us through a review of martial arts issues for Sudanese women and youth. So I take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Ali Suleiman to give us his presentation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm so glad to be in the forum, Third African Martial Art webinar. And thank you, Dr. Chang, for their academic presentation, which is well organized, very good for me. So I'll move now to Sudan. I will give a review about martial art issue for Sudanese women and youth. But of course, we need to talk about the current issue that face all the world, that is COVID-19. And because of this COVID now, we are not able to meet in person, we only go through online. However, generally in Africa, compared to other continents, like less continents who have affected with the COVID. But I hope all the people can be prepared, because maybe within this winter, another wave coming. The good thing during this time, the online activities are like increased high, and we are able to communicate with all the people around the world. Let's move to have some view about Sudan geographic, because it is very important to know that the geographic location of Sudan, they affect the culture of Sudan, which affects the youth and women and all the sport activity. Sudan is called the eastern part of Africa, which can be existent from the Arab world and Middle East into Africa. And this makes some influence of some Arabic culture affect Sudan, and also neighbored by Libya and Egypt, most Arab country. And from the other hand, Sudan have many African tribes and many African languages, so we are a combination. And this is shape the women and youth mentality. Sudan's size is very big. It's second largest country in Africa after Algeria. It's 1,800,000 kilometers, while the population is around 43 million. As the keynote speaker said, Africa is a very young nation, and Sudan not exception of that. If we take here, more than 40% of the population of Sudan, their age is under 14 years old, which are considered very, very, very young nation. And actually, this one make us think to how to use this power of youth people. Let's have some look about traditional sport, or like traditional martial art sport. This is one of the sport which we can consider as a martial art, but it's not well organized. And I think here the role of UNESCO can help to try to adjust our traditional sport and help to promote and well organized. And why I put this sport, because this is related addressing the issue of women and youth, because it's only boy game, so the girls are excluded from this sport, and maybe this is due to some cultural influence, and also is practiced only by young people, maybe around 10 years old, 15 years old. The other sport is like common, it's wrestling, and it's similar to other wrestling in the other African countries and to Sirim in Korea. And wrestling is not just a sport, it's actually the cultural activity and social program for the people. And again, this sport also only practiced by men. And also this issue need to be discussed and addressed and to be studied more and more. In order to prepare for this presentation, I make like a small survey, which is very basic. We have only 5 questions. And I post this question like in social media. I try to reach as much people as I can. I posted this questionnaire through Google form, very simple, 5 questions. Within less than 2 minutes, you can fill up all the questions. But I surprised by the number of the participants. I get only 123 participants, which is give to me like big question mark. Why? What is the reason? The questions are simple. It's in social media, which many people engage. The question language is in Arabic. So this can be the first problem we can state that facing youth and women, that they are not very familiar with the research about their own problem, especially with sport and martial art issue. However, the response of the question is quite interesting, and most of the people who answer this questionnaire are from the sport and from the martial art society, as a player or coaches or even parent of the participant. Around 60% of the participants are male, while 40% are female, some like gender equity. And most of the participants are from Taekwondo. And the age group, the majority is the age between 18 and 15. So this gives us like a basic step about how the youth thinking. I put like 5 questions in Arabic language. Later I will like explain in English. And I divide it into 5 groups. And the first group is about facilities and equipment for martial arts. The second group about coach qualification. The third group is about economic and fees, income and fees, like economic issues. The fourth one is about competition and events. For the facility and equipment, I divide also into 2 groups. One is about, the question is about the absence. Did really you see that we have lack of venue, of training gym, of dojang? How about equipment? Did we have enough training equipment? Have competition equipment? The answer shows that more than 60% they say yes, we're facing issue with the facility and with the equipment. The absence of facility, I think, is referred to the poor infrastructure, sport infrastructure in Sudan. And for the absence of equipment, if we take Taekwondo as example, now Taekwondo move into Olympic sport, and this lead to have many electronic equipment, including headguard equipment, body protector, electronic equipment, which affect a little bit in terms of the cost, which made very difficult for the individuals or for the clubs or like a small school to have this kind of equipment, which make like a shortage. The absence of equipment is referred to the improvement and to development of the technology of sport, which we still far we need to cope with. The absence of suitable training places is referred to like poor sport facility, which is like local rule for the government. About the coaching qualification, the question I asked that, did you think really martial art coaches are qualified enough? 14% of the people said yes, while the majority, they didn't think the coach qualification are like coding or like very high level for them. I estimate like 5 issues that can be affect the coach's qualification. The first one about physical education. The number of the physical education college in Sudan is very, very few comparing to the population. We have only 2 physical education around whole Sudan, which personally I consider is a big, big problem. Yeah, we have some department with an education, but still the number is very few. If we have only 2 physical education colleges, they teach only the major subject, management, media, coaching. We don't have any department or any college or any subject about martial arts. It's a big lack. The other thing I guess that we don't have long coaching training program. Although the coach is not graduated from physical education class, I think they need to have at least to have vocational sport training program. That means like to fill the gap between absence of the college and the academic through vocational martial art or sport coaching program. The third thing is the professionalism. Most of the coaches, they take sport as part-time, and like secondary thing, not the priority. And this also affects the time they consume in research and study and to develop their skills. They try to work as a job and as a position that bring for them enough money for life. Of course, also I think the soft skill for the coaches is missing. I mean like psychological, like communication, these basic things to communicate with the people. And this leads us to see if we have professional martial art coaches for disabled people, for kids people, for high level people, like people who compete for competition, or just martial art for all, like for everyone can practice. About income and fees, the answer shows that around 30%, which I understood that the people don't care too much about the fees because the coaches already they have another job, so they didn't rely too much in the coaching. And for the participant and for the student, they don't pay much, so they consider it as not a big problem. So the income and fee from the martial arts sport is not a big deal because many coaches, they just do it like voluntary activity. And the players didn't take it seriously as a professional sport. For the competition, 47% of the people, they thought that, yes, they have absence of like regular competition. This percentage describe that we have like moderate or like middle size of competition. The federations, they conduct only seasonal competition, like state competition, like 1 or 2 year competition per year. But some other clubs, they try to make like their own competition, where it's very small, with very, like, the available resources, which is very, sometimes very poor. As we can see in this, the above photos, they just play in the ground, and they're enjoying. And this one actually of the club, which is because they just run the competition, the event by himself, voluntarily. You have like almost monthly competition. The people are enjoying, and they have simple gift. The physical education system in Sudan, as I mentioned above there, absence of the physical education college is like a big issue. So I pose the questions. We have 3 answers. Do you have physical class or sport class in your school? You don't have, or you don't know. More than 70%, they said they don't have any physical education class. And this can connect it directly with the shortage and absence of the physical education college. As I said, you have only 2 physical education college. Only 15% they said yes, they have physical education. If we go deeper, I think the schools who bring sport class to their school, they're using sport as a promotion tool to attract more students. Yes, we have sport, we do some games, we do some martial arts. Not because of the sport like is an important subject or like a basic subject should be included. And I think this like one of the crucial also, absence of the physical education academy or college in Sudan. And this need a lot of work and research to solve this issue, and to know first why we don't have this such like very important. The nation is very young, 14 years old, but we have absent in the primary school education class. Some other more problems about martial art and sport. One of the issues about federations who run those martial arts. The main martial arts in Sudan are taekwondo, karate, judo, kung fu, and wrestling. And taekwondo have more popularity, maybe because it is Olympic sport, because of the fund of the IOC for them, because of support of Korean government and Kukiwan who dispatching coaches. But the issue is that the federations are not using these resources properly, and they didn't try to expand the martial art issue, which is vertically, I mean in terms of level high to achieve a medal, to achieve like world record and high ranking, and horizontally to expand more for public, for all people, for young people. The second problem I think also is the economic issue, which is facing Sudan, and I believe that many African countries, they have same. And this economic issue make people think more about their living experience, better to think about sport. And this can connect it with the importance of sport awareness within the local community. They need to know that sport is not just for luxury, it is like for health, it's like sport for peace. They need more education, more program, more focus to address how sport is important. And one of the issues also the government care for sport. Normally sport is like in the bottom of their priority. And we can see that clearly in terms of funding the sport activity, in terms of seeing the sport facility, how many gym and hall that can host international event. Are there any like regional hall, regional training center? Like we have a sport facility in like open sport facility. If you compare to Korea, we can see the huge difference. Also, one of the most important issue, I think, is absence of the research in the sport and martial arts sector. Because through research and the theoretical methodology, we can identify the problems more scientific way with the figure, with the number, then we can find solutions. So all these things are connected together, the government care and the theoretical research. And I can connect all this issue with the absence of the national sport policy in Sudan. We have no any national sport policy in Sudan. We have no policy about funding policy, how to bring fund for sport, how we use this fund, if any. Also, sport for all policy, how to encourage the people to use the sport. What program we use to put facility, how to make it. Absence of the national sport facility is like the crucial issue. The key point for all this is the absence of national sport policy. And talent identification policy, of course, is important if you need to go vertically in terms of elite sport, in terms of achieving medals. And sport for diplomacy policy, this can consider and categorize under the term of sport for development also, because now sport has become multiple tool. And clearly we see in Pyeongchang Olympic, when North and South Korea, they came under one flag, which is like considered as advantage step of using sport. It just become not more than just a game. Before I wrap up, I give some keys that I think Sudan is needed, at least to be in the similar or same stage with other countries. And actually this step also can be applied for other countries. We need to have more association with the global sport bodies. And these sport bodies can be NGOs, international organization, private sector, and connecting with the ICM, one of the tools, because it's focusing in martial arts. So we need to engage more and to be open more to the world. Maybe we have some obstacle regarding this issue, maybe because of language barrier, but it's still not a big deal if the people have a desire and we have national policy to show what we want and what is next. And also, of course, we need to encourage the research in sports sector. And this also connected with associated with the global sport bodies, even like association, sport marketing association, martial art association, sport marketing association. We need to connect. I think this is like a circle, encouraging sport research, and we have to connect also with the body. And modeling. We need to find the perfect model or system that we can follow. And I'm not based for Korea, but Korea can be a very good example for many African countries. I live here in Korea quite time, and Koreans always proud to share their experience. They always talking about how they are like a very poor country, developed country, but developed, and now they say, have terms, they say, we are a nation who receive donations, and now we are donating. They are very keen to share their experience. So we need a country model that we can follow. At the same time, we can adjust to match with our own culture and our own history and our own situation. Private sector also can play important part of this case to help to solve some of the issue. What I mentioned here is like general view about problems facing youth and women in Sudan. And each point I address, it can be a full topic for research. However, people within all these obstacles, within all this problem, they try to enjoy what they have. using the available resources, celebrating, expanding, demonstrating their sport. And this is just the beginning. As the keynote speaker mentioned, this is just the beginning. We need to focus more and move forward. It's all what I have, and I'm ready to move forward for some questions. And thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Ali, for that inspiring presentation. We will move to the question section later on after the presentation by our final panelists. But thank you very much for that presentation. Ali has highlighted several issues. He has talked about need for expanded facilities, need for a lot of coaches going through focused training that can be able to help many young people. He's also talked about the need for the policy environment, especially within the sports dockets, departments, or the ministries as run by the government that can be able to help. He has also talked about the need for coaches to be equipped much more with soft skills so that beyond just the physical aspect of martial arts and other activities, they can be able to get into other skills that also help in terms of overall development, psychological development of young people. He has also talked about the need to find ways and means of encouraging programs that tend also to focus on training women that can be able to come up as role models and being able to find possibilities of ensuring that some of these programs become part and parcel of institutions that are involved in educational activities, especially schools, colleges, wherever young people are, if there is possibilities of ensuring that programs related with physical education and martial arts specifically can be made as part and parcel of those institutions and mainstreamed within their curriculum. He has been able to also focus on that. And the need for more research, in terms of how best to engage young people, given the challenges and the kind of problems that they do face within their communities or within the formal government institutions. He has also touched on the need for federations to be able to develop more capacity of being able to either work through networks, be able to coalesce together and find ways and means of being able to support each other, even if they're facing challenges of resources. So thank you very much, Ali, for that inspiring presentation. We will pick up questions that you will be able to respond to specifically, but that will come at the end of our presentation session. So I take this opportunity to welcome our last presenter, and this is going to be Ms. Abena Adasa Nkrumah. Abena Adasa is the chairman of Ashanti Brong Ahafo Colleges of Education Sports Association. She's an expert professional in physical education and sports leadership. And she's a citizen of the Republic of Ghana. She lives in a town called Kumasi. And I take this opportunity to welcome her. This is part of what she does, and she's been able to undertake lots of programs, especially focusing on the girl child as well as young women within Ghana. And we welcome you, Abena, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. As he said, I'm Abna Nkrumah Adasa from Ghana. And what I have here is going to be from this outline. Once we know in developing countries, we as Ghana, there are a lot of challenges that definitely we'll be facing as an African country and as a developing one. In Ghana, there are a lot of things that the Ghanaian government is doing to help develop the youth as well as the women. However, as they are doing their best, there are still a lot of problems and challenges that they are also facing in terms of youth violence, sexual assault, domestic violence, and unemployment. As we can see, Ghanaian, we are in our election year, and once we have a lot of youth in the country now who are unemployed, our politicians are also, in a way, capitalizing on this youth unemployment, and they are using them for so many things, so many activities, so many antisocial acts. Currently in Ghana, you meet so many youth trooping through the routes or the roads, doing all sorts of things. And instead of our politicians telling them to stop it, they are rather giving them ammunition, t-shirts, and some token. And they also give them a word that we will give you a work after I'm elected into power. And this thing is causing a lot of havoc among our youth. They just wake up one day thinking, oh, we have someone to support us, and it's really heartbreaking. Currently in the country, it's estimated that 20 to 40 youth get injury out of adolescent violence, and then some kind of suicidal behaviors that is going on in the country now. As you can see from the screen, we have about 18.2 people or youth who have suicidal ideations. We have 22.5% who have a plan to cause suicide, all because of unemployment and other social vices that are being perpetrated in the country now. Sexual assault has also increased dramatically from 14% to 14% of girls and 16% in 2019 to 27% in just this 2020, where we even experienced lockdown. And so you can see that Ghanaian women is actually going through hell as this lockdown came around. And domestic violence rate has also increased from 33 to 34% in 2019 to 35 to 40% just in 2020. All these statistics, I collected them from the social welfare department in Mampong and Bekwai, which are suburbs of the Ashanti region in Ghana. And currently also there is this Ghanaian students, Ghanaian as a whole, we are actually suffering from some form of internet addiction. You know, Ghanaians, we used to have communal form of doing things where our mothers and our fathers will have to teach us some ethics in the homes, how to cook, how to wash, how to do all those stuff. But now the Ghanaian youth is so much addicted to the internet that they don't even ask their mothers, or they don't even help their mothers in the homes, or even find time to do things or learn some ethical values. And so, according to a research by one Amwa, he says that in a school, that's one school, Ken UST, where this research came from, it says that about 9.83 and 41.3% of Ghanaian students suffer this internet addiction. And the most pathetic one is once they are addicted, they also engages in some form of cyberbullying. They also engages in some form of nuding themselves, taking nude pictures and selling themselves on the social media. Now, when you talk about women's problem, as you can see from, we are looking at the problems or the challenges that women go through. And since the institution of the Affirmative Act in 1960, there have been a lot of improvement in Ghanaian or in gender equality and the women's rights in Ghana here. Currently, there are an appreciable number of women in parliament, that we have 36 women in parliament currently as against 27 that we had in 2012. There has also been an increase in public sectors. That is, now we have 43.1% as against 37 in the previous years. Then there has also been an appreciable increment in the number of women who also attend public universities in the country now. Now, where I think Ghanaian women we are still lacking in terms of gender equality, it's our traditional inheritance. You know, in the Ghanaian setting, we have both patrilineal inheritance and matrilineal inheritance, where you have the opportunity to inherit from your mother or your father. But in the country now, because of the patrilineal heritage or lineage that is being perpetuated, or that has been the case, the practice in previous years, it's still ongoing. And those women who come from the northern part of the country, as well as the voter sessions, they are actually suffering a lot. And there have been a lot of cases where some women will have to move away from their patrilineal home and go and look for a place to hide for their safety in terms of these inheritance. And it's really something that needs to be looked out for. Our Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection agencies are doing their best currently to help improve gender equality in the country now. And they have to be organizing a lot of conferences, a lot of leadership skills training for the youth, where there is one ongoing currently in Quantanov at the southern district of Ghana. Now let's look at the barriers existing in the field of sports, as I am into sports. And I think I can talk much about this. Currently in Ghana, sports is seeing a facelift somehow, but then there is still some form of hindrances or barriers that the woman will have to face. Because now, funny enough, some of these things are it's causing a lot of women, especially whether educated or not educated, they are all going through this. And especially in the field of martial arts, Ghanaians, Ghanaian women in the field of martial arts are very few, all because they are being stigmatized in the country now. If they see you as a woman and you have a little build up muscles, they think you are boyish. And in our country, in our language, they call you Obabema, which is somehow funny. But the way they will call you, you wouldn't even like to venture into going into sports. Then another thing that is preventing our women from participating is misconceptions. Ghanaian still have the perception that if you participate in sports, you wouldn't give birth. If you participate in sports, you wouldn't look sexy and hot as they claim it. And so this is also preventing a lot of women from participating in physical activity. Currently, the government in power is doing a lot to ensure that facilities are built all across the country in districts. Now we have about 37 of them being built only in Ashanti region. However, the things or the tools that will be needed, like soccer, we are talking about martial arts, so let me be specific to martial arts, mats, headgears that they can use, it's lacking. And there is also the lack of exposure. You know, according to one the president of the Ghana Judo Association. I happened to call him for information about the way martial arts is being conducted in the country. And he said that the women don't want to participate because they are lacking the exposure in international and then national competitions. According to him, there was a competition that was held in 2019 where a lady, the only lady who is having a black belt in judo, competed. And according to him, she complained bitterly because she wasn't treated well. And then also lack of motivation and education. As I just said previously, there is only one woman in the whole country, Ghana, who is participating in the international world. And looking at the number of women in the country, Ghana have a lot of women. Per statistics, we even outnumber the men. However, only one woman is participating in the international competition, which I think is very pathetic. We now have 16 regions, but only one woman is participating in the international competition. And then we also have just a school, which is St. Mary's Senior High School, who has also taken it upon themselves to teach the girl child how to how to participate in, or how to learn. They are teaching them to learn judo, and it's a compulsory subject for them. And I think that is a plus to that school. I was looking at the number of secondary schools and colleges of education, universities in the whole country. None is teaching the girl child how to defend herself. To conclude, I think there are a lot of things that needed to be done if we want to improve the life of the Ghanaian woman, knowing the importance that comes with sports in terms of psychological, physical, self-defense, in martial arts. There is a lot that needs to be done. And I think that the Martial Arts Association, if we can do something to help, should be equipped with a lot of facilities to aid them, um, train women, a lot of women who will also be able to defend themselves, looking at how the situation in the country is now very chaotic, and because we are also in election year. And then I also plead that the few schools who have taken upon themselves to train some students should also be motivated in a way, as well as giving them the equipment they need, also helping in a way to add judo, karate, or any of the martial arts to the school curriculums across the country to help them, especially the women, to also defend themselves. Now, in terms of awareness, I think per some interviews that I made, that is personal one, it looks as if Ghanaians know less about martial arts in the country as it stands now. Most people don't even know that we have martial arts associations across the country. They don't even know. And so I think when we create more awareness, it will help. Then we also have to build capacity of the trainers. I happen to talk to some of the coaches, and I think they need to be given, or maybe if we can help build their capacity in training them either within or bringing people from outside to come in and help, I think that will be very, very helpful. Thank you very much. And I think I'll end here for this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abena, for that wonderful presentation. We are very grateful. You've been able to emphasize on challenges that a lot of young people face within the Ghanaian society, and this is something that is common across the other African countries, Ghana being just one of the uh, countries that can be able to, for our purposes here, reflect upon other countries across Africa, because the issues are cross-cutting and the challenges are the same. Abena has been able to talk about the prevalence of youth unemployment, which leads to a lot of antisocial activities, and this could be like crime, a lot of violence, even gender-based violence. And because of the fact that many young people find themselves unemployed, they end up being taken advantage of at different levels in terms of gangs, in terms of being used for political mobilization and violence that goes with the kind of politics that is common, especially during the seasons when widespread general election happens within the country. She has also been able to talk about the problem that is being experienced in terms of internet addiction, especially for the youth, which has led to weak development of life skills, character development, value formation. Young people tend to end up just taking their time and forgetting about all other things that can be able to make them develop up as responsible people by simply spending a lot of their time on the internet. And a lot of the internet activities are not positive. She talked about cyberbullying. She talked about using cyber as a place or a platform for engaging in pornography activities and other kind of things that are not particularly positive to their development. Abena has also talked about issues that are specific to women in terms of their challenge. And she mentioned the fact that as much as there is a lot of improved political representation of women, but still in terms of gender equality, the gap still exists. But still there are certain particular issues that needs to be worked on. She mentioned that it is good enough, or it is advantageous that the Ghanaian cultural tradition has had both matrilineal as well as patrilineal traditions. But this is getting weakened by the kind of programs that does not seem to emphasize so much on gender equality issues. And then she moved on to sports in Ghana and how this impacts on women. She underscored the fact that there's a lot of barriers that women face within the sports fraternity, especially when she focused on martial arts. There are very few women who are involved in this because martial arts are stigmatized. Stigmatized culturally and in terms of the general social attitude that any woman who develops interest or engages in martial arts is simply not seen positively. She talked of they being given a local name, Obabema, meaning that you develop muscles and possibly you are a good candidate for no marriage, which in terms of attitude makes many of the girls or the young women simply see martial arts as an area that reduces their chances of appreciation within the communities. And she talked about the fact that given these kind of perceptions, many young people, many young women, and many families shy away from encouraging their daughters to engage in martial arts. Just like Ali before, she talked about facilities, the fact that facilities are not widespread across the country in terms of regional equality. A lot of facilities are concentrated in certain parts of the country, and sometimes it is much more within the urban centers, and you find that the rural places do not seem to have access to many of the sporting facilities, which also cuts across to martial arts. And then she talked about lack of exposure to women in terms of martial arts. She mentioned that within the country, there is very few role models. There is only one woman black belt holder in martial arts, and even her experience in being able to participate in martial arts is negative because she's not given the due consideration like any other sports people who are engaged in other disciplines. So in terms of role modeling, you find that women find very few people to look up to, especially women themselves. And this is something that makes it very difficult for the bigger number of girls to be able to see people that they would want to, follow up and look at at them as their own heroes or sheroes that they can be able to take up sports, given the kind of public profile that they enjoy. And then she talked about lack of motivation, both at home, in the community, as well as within institutions of learning or of education. Good. She moved on to talk about possible solutions. And like Ali, she talked about the need to find ways and means of making sports facilities available across the country and within the communities, so that it becomes a point that can be able to attract girls and young women to take up sports. And trying as much as possible to encourage schools and educational institutions to include sporting activities, especially martial arts, as part of their curriculum, so that it is not something that is rare. It is something that is made to be common, which then can be able to ensure that young people can develop interest and can easily find access if it is available within their school curriculum or in other educational institutions like colleges and then universities. So thank you very much, Abena, for that wonderful presentation. We now move on to questions, which I would want you as panelists to, and we've got several questions that have come in from different people who have been listening through this presentation. Some have posted them on the YouTube, some are watching through YouTube, but some of the questions have just come directly on our platform now. We would want you to respond to these questions. Any of the panelists can take any, but there are certain specific questions that are touching on the African context. But we'll start with a question about challenges. And here, the challenges that are being mentioned here is in terms of what challenges are African practitioners facing, especially when they need to be able to educate, promote, and also try as much as possible to establish active participation or membership into activities that encourage martial arts activities for young people. So any of you, especially now in the African region, we've got two able panelists, Ali and Abena. This question is focusing on challenges that African practitioners face in educating students, promoting martial arts, and also establishing active activities of martial arts within the context of their communities, taking Sudan and Ghana as an example.
Okay, I think I take this opportunity. I will answer the question through my experience as a former taekwondo athlete. I practiced taekwondo more than 20 years, and I become a coach after that. Still, I can see the all issue and all the problems that I faced during my practicing taekwondo as a player. Still, I can see it now. One of the most important challenging that the world now is developing too fast, especially in terms of martial arts and sport. And actually, if we took taekwondo as example, taekwondo is originally as martial arts, but now it's transformed into a sport, especially after joined to Olympics. Taekwondo became official Olympic Games in year 2000 during Sydney Olympic Game. So transferring from martial art into sport, they added more obstacles, more problems, more challenges, such as the player, the coaches, they need to cope with the change of the rules and the regulations of martial arts as a sport, and also they need to cope with the development of equipment. As I mentioned earlier, now Taekwondo, they have electronic protectors. They have sensors, they have bodyguards, they have video replay, which can add higher cost for the participant themselves. And again, the challenge I mentioned also about the absence of Sudan, absence of the national sport policy. And this made us as martial art participants or like officials kind of losing direction. Do you need to focus in sport and martial arts as just sport for all, just train for ourselves, for our own health? Or we need to think about martial arts as an elite sport and to focus to have medal and achieve good ranking. And this, of course, need funding, which is another problem. To be elite sport, of course, you need long training program, you need training camps, you need like to be professional full-time martial art practitioner. This is some of the problems that I can see and really facing African and especially in Sudan.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ali. We've got Ben also to put in a word in there.
As Ali rightly said, the funding is a challenge, and the skill, as the modernization or how things are going now in terms of rules and regulations, it keeps changing all the time, and it's very difficult for the African trainer or the Ghanaian trainer to be abreast with the new rules and regulations. And I think it's also a challenge because most of them can't afford the books that they need, as well as the equipment, as Ali rightly said. So I think it's really a challenge where the trainers are also not able to equip themselves with the new rules and regulations. And then also courses to address them with the new trends in sports is also a challenge. The skill training aspect, they are not being trained on the new methods of doing things. In Ghana here, it's only, when you hear skill training, it's for only soccer. That's all. Apart from soccer, the other sporting activities are neglected. And so the trainers themselves don't get the opportunity to learn these new rules and regulations, as well as the new skills that are being used. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got a specific question from Masaku. Masaku is asking this from Sierra Leone, and this question is specific to Ali. The question is, how do you manage religion and tradition in martial arts, especially when it comes to issues of membership drive and sustainability in Sudan? So the question is, when I talk about issues of religion, issues of tradition, how is this managed within the context of Sudan when it comes to the promotion and getting as many people as possible, especially girls and young women, to participate in martial arts?
Well, thank you. This is really interesting and important questions. As I mentioned in my first slide, Sudan is very close to Arab world, and which make us affected with the Arabic culture and Islamic culture, which put some barrier for women to practice sport. From the other hand, we have different, big group of African tribes or people from African roots which have not big problem with this culture. We need to connect this with the politics and the ruling government in Sudan. Sudan have like dictatorship for more than 30 years, which come from Islamic Brotherhood background. This puts some barriers, some difficulties for women to practice. Sudan witnessed a revolution in late 2018. New government, they came with the open-minded and tried to give more freedom for practicing sport, for rule, to gender equity and this issue. But it's still this problem because it's inside the people, inside the culture. From the other hand, I will take again example from Taekwondo. Taekwondo try to not to differentiate between male and female and religion during sport, since allow for people to wear hijab, for example, for women during Taekwondo competition, which is considered kind of encouraging the woman to engage more with the sport. But still, yes, he's right. We need to work more in the mindset of the people and try to expand sport without thinking about this barrier in religion, on culture, on gender equity. I hope I answer his question.
Yeah, good. The next question I would want Dr. Chan to respond to. And this is an issue of at the family level. The question is, how can we encourage the development of interest of parents in martial arts, especially those who have misconceptions on allowing young children, especially the female children, to participate in martial arts. So it is a question around how do we deal with the negative perception, especially at the parental level, because these are the people who are guidance of the children. If they allow it, their children will be able to participate. They are definitely centers of authority, which contributes a lot in what a young person does or do not get involved into. So focusing on martial arts and the perceptions around martial arts, how do we get parents to have a positive perception and take it upon themselves to encourage their children to participate in martial arts? Dr. Chang.
Yes, this is not an easy question, an easy thing to answer, because it's deeply embedded in the culture, the religion, and social norm of the whole society, that these parents, or the society, from I learned this from other presenters, that this could be an issue, that girls are not encouraged to do sports and martial arts. And I think I just want to tackle the first level, is that not only martial arts, I think overall perception about girls in sports, this should be enhanced, that doing sports by the girls, it's not something that prevents them their femininity, or it doesn't block them getting married well, or this kind of perception on overall sports itself should be changed. And then about martial arts, I think that martial arts has a little bit of advantage than other sports activities, because martial arts is about mind too, and also it's about protecting herself, herself. So this could be a good argument for the parents to change their thinking and also get involved and actually promoting. So I think martial arts has some advantage than other sports, and we should do more awareness raising, some parent education. Maybe these things we can encourage them to think differently.
Abena, anything that you can add on that, especially in the African context? How do we talk to our African parents, especially when it comes to encouraging girls to get into martial arts, given that the larger perception is that those are physical arts which are associated with the masculinity, and a girl is supposed to be this dainty, nice, little, and aggressive, in quotes, person who should be able to work towards getting married than fighting it out with others. So how do you talk to parents to be able to work around that and be able to perceive and see martial arts as something essential to development, wholesome development of a young person, especially in other aspects, beyond just the focus on the physical and the violence, in quotes?
Yeah. from where I am coming from as a physical education tutor or a chairperson for the organization, I've always been using myself as an example. I tell the parents that they should look at my physical appearance in terms of how I look. I have played sports right from, oh yes, I have played sports right from childhood. As I started from the age 5, where I started engaging in some form of physical activity up to now. I've played through the university sports, the colleges of education sports, up to now. But I still look, I don't look how they think that I should look. So I always tell them it depends on the kind of sports. That if you want to develop muscles, you will develop them. But if you want flexibility and other benefits that is derived from sports, you can also use different forms of exercises that will let you still look fresh and nice as they perceived. And so I have always been telling the parents that they should rather look at the positive impact of sports as against the negative aspect. I remember one day I asked a woman who says she would never allow the daughter to participate in sports. So I asked the man, when you go for antenatal, what did they tell you? Then she said in her language, almost mean exercise, that she should participate in exercises. So I said, then what you are doing a disservice to your daughter by not allowing her to participate fully in the exercise, because that is what will help her to also give birth freely, as the physician or the doctor is also advising you on. And you will also give your daughter a lot of exposure. So mostly I talk to them in terms of the exercises that they can do, the, me using myself as a role model, as well as the benefits that can be derived. So I think the parents in Ghana need to know much about the benefits that the girl child can derive from it, and their perception will change. At least I've been able to change some parents, and they are now allowing their daughters to go into sports. So I think that will also help. We can talk to them from that direction.
Thank you a lot for that. Our next question is specific to Ali. There is a participant who's listening, who was listening through our presentation and our conversation so far, and would want you to go back to a certain form of martial arts that we saw in your presentation, and this is the Shadat. So somebody is asking just a little bit of explanation, especially in terms of the physical practice of that particular form of martial arts. He's wondering whether, in terms of the process, the physical process, are the young boys holding each other over their necks? Can you be able to just a little bit, in a very, very short summary form, explain how Shadat is done in terms of the physical engagement? What does it involve in terms of moves? Is it kicking? Is it holding? Is it throwing? Is it rest? Speak to us a little bit about Shadat and how it is done.
Okay, it's an interesting question. Actually, I have more than 30 years. I never practiced Shadat. Shadat is like kind of team sport. Need to practice by at least 2 people, and should have 2 teams. One team is attacker and one team is defender. So if we say each team have 5 players, so the attacker team should name one of their player as like a king, and he should reach the other ring of the other people as a team. The rule of the other team, they have to stop him, and his team supposed to clear the road for him. And normally all the players, they stand on their one leg, they're holding one leg with the one hand. So you have to push the opponent to make him fall down, or try to make his arm untied with his leg. Mainly it's like kind of pushing. You can push from anywhere using your hand. As much as you push more player, you are winner, and you should allow to your king to reach the other team side. Sometimes if like it took long time not to anyone win, they do kind of racing. So each team they name one player, then start to race on one leg. But the basic concept is kind of wrestling, using one hand and one leg to try to push the other opponent. It's Shaddad, and also they have different name in different part of Sudan, and mainly they play in the village area, Shaddad or Harrena or Hakko. Yeah, this is simple explanation about Shaddad.
Aran, we can't hear you at the moment, so could you just lift up your mute buttons?
Sorry, I was muted, but I was saying that we've run short of time. We are coming to the close of this session, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank our three able panelists for having been able to engage us with those presentations. Starting with Dr. Chang, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation and the time you took to be able to go back and research and be able to engage us with the presentation that you did. Thank you very much for that, Dr. Chang. Abena, we are very grateful for you being able to open our eyes to the situation in many African countries, taking Ghana as a learning point, which reflects a lot of what's happening, whether we are talking about southern part of Africa, countries in Eastern Africa, as well as Western Africa. Whatever you talked about in terms of Ghana is something that is observable in many of the African countries. So thank you very much for highlighting the challenges. And lastly, thank you very much, Ali, for the presentation that you shared with us. I take it back to our facilitator, Han.
Oh, yes.
Can you come in?
Yeah. Mr. Aran, thank you for being the moderator of the session one. And actually, we are a little bit behind of the time, so let me move on to the next session straight away. So now, also I must say thank you for all the speakers in session one, too. Now, we will have a break session to watch performance conducted by UNESCO ICM Martial Arts Demonstration Team online. Please stay tuned to have enjoyable and excellent martial arts performance from diverse types of world martial arts. Let's have it now.
태견입니다. 태견은 한국 전통의 무예로 독특한 보법으로 품발기를 밟으며 발차기 및 거리 기술로 넘어뜨려 승부를 내는 무예입니다. 대한민국의 국가무형문화재 제76호로 등록되어 있고 2011년 11월 28일 태견은 세계 무예 가운데 최초로 유네스코 인류 무형 문화유산으로 등재되었습니다.
Taekyon is a traditional Korean martial art that uses unique steps and kicks to trip up an opponent. Taekyon was inscribed on UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage for the first time as martial art in 2011.
다음은 펜칵실랏입니다. 펜칵실랏은 예술적으로 방어하다는 의미를 가지고 있으며 인도네시아, 말레이시아, 싱가포르, 브루나이 등 마자파잇 왕국에서 널리 성행하였습니다. 펜칵실랏은 2018년 아시안게임의 정식 종목으로 채택되었습니다.
Pencaksilat meaning defending artistically, has been widely practiced in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, and others. In 2019, Indonesia's Pencaksilat and Malaysia's Silat were both inscribed on UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity.
네, 다음은 칼리아르니스입니다. 칼리아르니스는 필리핀의 전통 무예이며 에스크리마로도 불립니다. 주로 칼이나 짧은 봉을 사용하고 무기 없이 격투술도 포함되어 있어 영화 아저씨에서 원빈이 사용한 기술로 더욱 주목받는 무예이기도 합니다.
Kali-arnis. Kali-arnis is a traditional Filipino martial art also known as eskrima. It uses sword and short sticks as well as unarmed fighting techniques.
다음은 무에타이입니다. 무에타이는 무아이타이라고도 불리우며 무아이는 무술이라는 뜻입니다. 태국의 전통 격투기, 펀치, 킥, 팔꿈치, 무릎 등 입식 격투기에서 쓸 수 있는 거의 모든 기술을 허용하기에 실전성에 있어선 최고의 무예라고 일컬어집니다.
Muay Thai. Muay Thai, also called Thai boxing, is a traditional martial art of Thailand. It is a practical martial art that allows using all parts of the body, including hands, feet, elbows, and knees.
다음은 우슈입니다. 우슈는 중국 소림사에서 승려들의 신체 단련을 목적으로 발전시킨 쿵푸를 현대적으로 표현하는 경기입니다. 부드러움을 강조하는 태극권, 손동작 중심의 남권, 발차기 등의 빠르고 화려한 장권과 최근에는 실전성을 위해 산타라는 대련 경기도 일부 운영되고 있습니다.
Wushu is a modern form of kung fu competition that originated from Shaolin Monastery in China. Wushu includes Nanqian, Taiji Chen, and Changqian. A recently a sparring type called Sanda has been operated.
다음은 각 무예를 응용한 격파 시범이 있겠습니다.
Now you will see the demonstration of breaking.
Drop. Please give a big applause.
Thank you for watching, and it was great performance conducted by UNESCO ICM martial arts demonstration team. Now we will start with session 2, chaired by Professor Han Gon-soo from Gangwon National University on the theme of positive role of martial arts for African youth and women. In session 2, Mr. Sayu Kanute from Gambia, regional coordinator of African TSG Confederation, representing Western African region, and Madam Grace Chirumanzu from Zimbabwe, who was winner of 2018 Zimbabwe Sportswoman of the Year, and Mr. Sob Anand Dreffel from Mauritius, chairman of Triolet Eagle Karate Federation. However, unfortunately, the second speaker, Madam Chirumanzu, will be absent from these sessions due to the personal circumstances. I'm really sorry, but we will invite you next time too. So thank you for your understanding. And now, Professor Han, please, session is in your hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Han, for kind introduction. I welcome all of the people who joined this session too through internet. We have two presenters now, and our topic is the positive role of martial arts for African youth and women. So, as a moderator, I'll try to do my best as a timekeeper, because I want to give more time to the presenters and also participants' question sessions. I'd like to introduce first presenters. He is Sayu Kadune. He is from Gambia. He is the regional coordinator, African Traditional Sports and Game Confederation. Let's welcome Mr. Kanute for his presentation.
Thank you, Professor Han. I thank you all for being here, and it is a great pleasure for me to do my presentation on the third African Martial Arts seminar. With great pleasure, I would like to begin with my presentation. And the positive role of martial arts for African youth and women. I will start with the historical background for martial arts in Africa, particularly from the sub-region here, the Gambia and its surroundings. Traditional African martial arts has an age-old history, which has created and contributed to so many positive impacts in the social livelihood of the people. Martial arts in the sub-Saharan region is not only about the techniques of physical self-defense or mastering the art of war. It also involved the understanding of self-realization, discipline, pride, and honor. The first technique of martial arts in the form of self-defense in Africa is called wrestling. And wrestling is an art of self-defense that in ancient times used to be taught at places where we called the big school of life, called Jujuo or Wana amongst the Mandinka-speaking people in the Gambia, or Mbar in Wolof language. Every able man of circumcision once in their lifetime. Jujuo in ancient Gambian tradition is the circumcision camp, which is usually established in a deep forest where initiates are taught about the basic principles and characteristics of their existence in life. It is considered as a school of discipline and honor for the fact that during the first 1 month and 15 days of their stay in the Jujuo, the Kintangolu, that those are the men in charge of the welfare of the initiates, focus mainly on the monitoring and treatment of the wounds of the Ngansingol. The Ngansingols are the initiates, as well as their basic health conditions. After when all the initiates are healed and fit to be involved in other activities, the following 1 month and 15 days is focused on the important teachings pertaining to their social life. During this period, initiates are taught about the values of culture and tradition, integrity, discipline, tolerance, modesty, and mannerism in order to become responsible man in society and life in general. Along the line, another key element which the initiates are also being taught is honor, courage, and bravery. During their teachings on honor, courage, and bravery, initiates are being trained about the art of wrestling and the tactics of physical fighting. The application of secret methods, methodism, spiritual means are also being taught, especially for protection. War.
Right now,
especially during the
yes, you can continue. The internet situation of Gambia is not good, so the connection is through the closed. But Mr. Kanute, do you can you listen to me? Sorry for this technical problem. I think that Mr. Kanute has internet the problem right now. So can you?
I think we just can continue without him.
All right, and then maybe we can listen his presentation later. So I'd like to invite our second presenter. He's from Mauritius, Mr. Sof Anand Drepol. He's chairman of Triolet Eagle Karate Club of Mauritius. So let's welcome Mr. Drepol's presentation. Mr. Drepol.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Okay, I'm Mr. Sunil Ripol from Mauritius. So Mauritius is one of the African countries, but it is not in the continent of Africa. It's just outside Africa in the Indian Ocean. So our culture is a little different from the continental African country. And in Mauritius, martial arts started in the year 70s. In the 70s, martial arts started, and it's only then that we started having the martial arts movies. And this has helped me and helped me to help others in the martial arts. It has helped me in a very positive way to develop myself and to help me develop others. The self-discipline, when we start to have the self-discipline in the youth, this is something very interesting. And the young people, when they start training, and as time goes, they start getting the grade, and this helps them to become good leaders. They start being good leaders, and with their positive vibration around them, they have like nice and good people. Secondly, this leadership helps them to help the others, because this is experience that I have in my dojo, having people, having children. I have one boy with one 10-year-old boy with a black belt, and I have 20 years old children who are white or yellow belts. I think that you can understand that white and yellow belt are lower grade. So that the small child gets the respect from the elders. He is always here, and the elders come to seek for his help. So this gives the child motivation and the discipline, and he gets like the leadership He can take over the classes and he can share what he can. And even for the girls, because in Mauritius, mostly in Mauritius, we don't say we don't have like assault, we don't have sexual assault, we don't have like bullying. It's here. It's like in any other country, this exists in Mauritius. So when they are in the dojo, when they come, they join the martial arts. This future generation, they start getting the motivation, they start getting the confidence, they start building a different personality that they can go on the working market with a lot of confidence. Now, the thing that we have is like retention for these children. We need to retain them because once they approach the adulthood, we have most of the children, they leave the martial arts because they are going on the job market. But still we have like we have to retain them so that they can become good and nice citizens and become good leaders and role models. In fact, my karate training, for me, I build up future citizens. This is my aim. Each child joining the dojo will become one future positive, nice citizen with all the positive aspects to learn and to teach. The ladies, I teach them to become coaches so that they can own a dojo. We already have in Mauritius. They can own a gym and they can work confidently, because the first thing we need to develop is the boost self-confidence to face aggressive market. If you are scared, anyone feeling scared, most of you, I think that most of the people on this group, they must have taken part in competitions. And in a competition, whenever you have an opponent in front of you, first thing you look in his eyes and you'll understand that he is scared or not. When he is scared, you're 100% sure that you're winning. But when he is not scared, you have to fight, you have to go to the end to win. So when you're not scared, walking on the road, when you're not scared, whoever is coming in front of you, you need to look at him in his eyes and don't show any fear. This is what comes in our training. This is what gives more confidence, and this is what can prevent these children from not being bullied. Because bullying is something very, very dangerous in schools. I have seen many children have given up school because they have been bullied and they don't go to school. They just don't want to go to school. Okay. And they are empowered to start and venture in the new field. Mainly the ladies, because in the year 1980, many women were not working. But after that, it started, and the ladies have become good bread owners, bread earners in a house, and they are helping the family. They are building up, helping to build up the community. And the female sensei we have, I just mentioned, we have also the female sensei who take part and who helps in dojos. Many women join the dojo. They come for training. And most of the children nowadays, when they are joining the karate classes, their parents somewhere in the past started karate, but they could not complete the karate because of financial problem. So they have made, their children are joining us. They are coming for martial arts. But me, I have one like something in my mind which I have been fighting for years, is to introduce martial arts in schools. This is something that I wish a lot, and I hope that maybe working together with ICM, this can be possible. And as far as the health is concerned, anyone joining martial arts, the first thing is they need to have a good dieting. They need to have a positive and dynamic attitude. They become very choosy about food. From experience, again, I say, because I am always not teaching them to punch and to kick, but I'm teaching them how to make a good way of life, how to enjoy a healthy life and hygienic life. So the children become very choosy about their food, because they know that this food is going to build up their energy, their personality, is going to help them in their martial art program. I take one example, like, let's say, smoking. You don't need to ask someone not to smoke when that person is practicing martial arts, because if we know that this smoking will cause a lot of damage to the lungs, and breathing will be very difficult. It gives them very good body shape. Good body shape, because they are always fighting to get a good body shape and fitness.
Help them their studies.
Yeah.
Help them their studies.
And from that, from martial arts, the brain gets a lot of oxygen, which helps them in their studies. I have seen that from experience. My children are doing very well at school with martial arts. They always, I say that they are becoming good leaders and participating in social activities, helping people in the surrounding. When we invite parents to competitions, when they come here, they are very happy to see their children, because our aim in this competition is to make these children stay with martial arts. Again, I go back to retention. They stay in the competition because when they are participating, we just reward them either with a participation certificate or a participation medal. And the maturity that these children gain from martial arts cannot be measured. This maturity cannot be measured, because these children, they are very, very, very confident about themselves. These youths are the future of our nation. I think that by introducing martial arts as a compulsory subject in schools, this is going to boost up martial arts. And it should be compulsory. And I heard some of the people, they have some of my friends who just delivered, that they have the problem of having, I don't know, at times it's maybe the culture. But when you introduce it as a compulsory subject in a school,
the physical education program,
like you have the physical education program. This is going to help. This is going to help them. This is going to give more visibility toward martial art and to martial arts. And moreover, this is going to build up their career, because when you introduce martial art, you need to have martial artists who give training in the schools. So this is going to be like helping them to become instructors, helping to promote martial arts, and promoting more. One more thing when I was speaking to health is, everybody knows about the pandemic, COVID-19. Karate by itself, martial art by itself, it gives you the social distance, because you are always within, you have the distance of 1 to 1.5 meters between yourself and your opponent and your friend who is training together with you. We always bow in karate, we don't shake hands, we bow in karate, so we have these things already in there. And physical exercise that we practice, that we do, healthy food that we eat, can keep us very, very safe. Some of the way we promote karate, you can see in the pictures that I'm going to display on the screen. Very small island, Mauritius, surrounded by the sea. So we have like beach training. We have open karate training for the use that we do outside, outdoor training. We have all the sensei, we meet together. We have the beach training in the sea, in the water, outside the water, but we have it. And this gives motivation to have more and more people joining, because you have activities, you have more activities, always new things. And you have demonstration in the community and sensitizing on practice of martial arts for good health. Holistic development of youngsters for practice of martial arts. So we just don't do it in a closed area. We do it in open area. Many young participants. We have national competitions for youth. Children from the age of 3 starts martial arts in Mauritius. And we don't get help from the government. What we do is we bring martial artists from abroad who comes to promote more and more martial arts for us.
Sorry, Mr.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Karate,
Yes.
you have 1 minute. Could you wrap up your presentation? You have 1 minute, so please conclude your presentation.
A big thank you for all of you, because I got this opportunity, this nice opportunity, because for me, this opportunity should be always given to everybody. Maybe with the help of UNESCO, we need to have martial arts trainers with license, because earlier someone said about the coaches that what wrong thing they did to the athletes, the Olympics trainers. But for this also we need to have good martial artists. We can't have martial artists who take the children for their prey. We cannot accept these things. Okay, so I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present myself and my ideas. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Redfall. Your presentation was fantastic. Mr. Straffel actually introduced many good positive role of martial arts in Mauritius. Especially, he used the case of the karate. Even it is a foreign martial arts, how this karate give a positive influence on the Mauritius young people. Mauritius is multiracial and multicultural countries, but this martial arts spirit can unite the society as the same communities. All right. I hurried to actually to introduce our first presenter again, but unfortunately he just connected once, but he's disconnected again. So maybe the internet situation in Gambia is not simple, is not safe. It's very unstable. So I'd like to check once about the technical possibility. Can we wait or? Okay.
Yes,
we are waiting. We are trying to wait, Mr. Kanute from Gambia, but to save time, I will run the question and discussion sessions at first. So we have many questions from the SNS. Many people who participated these sessions through internet, they gave us some questions. But several questions are very broad and actually it's not easy to answer our presenters. But I will choose some questions from the participants, and also we already accept many questions from the participants. The first, we cannot ask a question to our first presenters, but first presenter, Mr. Kanute, his presentation materials, he tried to introduce you a traditional Gambia martial arts, is traditional wrestling, how it was originated, and also when the Gambia traditional wrestling is become public and also popularized among the people, and it becomes kind of some industry. So many people using this traditional wrestling as a competition game. And also recently, the woman also participated these traditional wrestling games. So we missed his good the presentations. So let's focus on our second presentation. So we have one big questions. I'm not sure our second presenter, Mr. Drepol, can answer this question or not, but let's try. The question is, in this field nowadays, there tends to be the debate, martial arts as an intangible cultural heritage, so-called it emphasizes tradition. Another trend is it emphasizes modern competitive sport, so it becomes many traditional martial arts become institutionalized, or sometimes it wants to become general sports game. So which direction African martial arts has been going in? So Mr. Drepol, he's expert in karate. So, but anyhow, in Mauritius, can you explain? Can you say some trend in Mauritius, Mr. Drepol?
Yes, I'm here. We have like different styles of karate, because as you know that karate is not only karate, Shotokan. You have the taekwondo, you have the karate, jiu-jitsu, aikijitsu, aikido. So you have many branches. Even other sports is present. Just as I mentioned that in school we have the PE, physical education program, where we have the children are being taught volleyball, basketball, athletics, but they are not being taught karate. Self-defense is not being taught. This is why I always speak aloud that we need to introduce, because self-defense is very important. Because I can teach someone to defend himself, herself in 5 seconds, because you need just to have, your mind should be always here. Don't you lose your mind or your abilities. So 5 seconds you should be present in yourself. And when we have another sport, it's not the same as helping you in martial arts. You may be playing football, you may be basketball, you may be having a very healthy body, but martial arts give you another dimension of thinking. You have another angle of thinking which you don't have in other sports. Sorry, I'm not criticizing, guys. Maybe some of you are like soccer, like volleyball, but me as a martial artist, we have a very different angle of thought.
Okay, thank you. Now the Mr. Kanute, he is connected again, but I think the situation of internet connection is unsafe, on the, very irregular. So I'd like to ask Mr. Kanute, instead of your presentation, can you join us for these discussion sessions? For example, I'd like to ask you some related questions, because when I read your presentation PPT PowerPoint, I understand that you want to explain the traditional Gambian wrestling, how it becomes institutionalized, how it is publicized for the people. So can you answer the previous questions? I will repeat the question itself. For example, our question is that in Africa, in general, there are two different opinions. For example, they want to treat martial arts as a tradition, like an intangible cultural heritage. Another side is that they want to institutionalize this traditional martial arts, like taekwondo and karate, and it's competitive, the sports game. So among these two opinions, based on your case in the Gambian, the traditional wrestling, which direction is appropriate right now? So can you give us your opinion about this?
All right, thank you very much, Professor Han, and my apologies for the internet connection that I wasn't able to finish the presentation. Like traditionally, it was been, the martial arts was been practiced on the marketing squares or the public places where people usually meet for evening entertainment. So from there on, they decided to have it to go commercial, like they created arenas. So during that period, then people will try to pay something to come into the arenas to watch the wrestlers. But as we speak right now, there are schools of wrestling. There are schools of wrestling where wrestlers will go and learn and train the different techniques, and it has become a commerce where some businesses are putting in their money. So it is now more than just an entertainment. It has become, a business or commerce and a way of earning for so many youths.
Okay, thank you. And then I'd like to ask you one more question, because you don't have a time to present your own content. So in session 1, we discussed a lot, for example, in Africa, how can we encourage the women, the girls, to participate in martial arts trainings? So in the presentation materials, I saw that the traditional wrestling game, the Gambian women, they began to join this sports, the martial arts program. So can you explain us how the Gambian women become involved in this traditional martial arts, the wrestling?
Thank you very much, Professor Han. Like on my presentation, there is a tribe called the Jola tribe. They usually, the female, the girls were allowed to do wrestling. But as time goes on, religion has overshadowed that. Women shouldn't be too exposed because they will have to wear some small wrappers around their waist, So they think they are being exposed so much as women. So tradition didn't. Tradition and religion did not support it. But how I think it could be possible to have them back to perform is just to get them a costume, an appropriate costume that will cover any part of their body which religion might think is not appropriate to be shown. So if they have a proper costume for this performance, I think that will help them and give them the ability to perform.
Okay. So among the questions, I choose one question, both of you. You can answer very briefly. For the question is, how African nations promote their own martial arts training? Is there any promotion policy based on law? Maybe you can explain your own country case in Gambia and Mauritius. Do you have any legal promotion program or policies to promote your own martial arts program? Let's start with Mr. Kanute. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as I am concerned, there are no policies for now. If the people who promote it are doing it individually for their own businesses or their own way of making money. So there are individual promoters. There are individual promoters who are helping to do the promotion of the arts. Of course, there is a cultural policy in the Gambia. There is a cultural policy from the National Center for Arts and Culture. But when it comes to martial art in general, the promotion and the activities and the practices are done by privately by individual promoters.
Okay, and thank you. And Mr. Dreffel, what about the Mauritius case?
We don't have anything like heritage, nothing. Everything is important. All the culture is important. So all the martial arts, sports is important. And we don't have anything like in the constitution or in law.
I think the reason why some participants ask this question to you means our Africa, the Regional Martial Arts Congress, we need to work together. For example, we need to persuade your own government to include this martial arts training program for the education, the curriculum. So because the many African colleagues, they want to develop and they want to promote African martial arts to their own society. So for this purpose, I think our Congress will try to work together to change the situations. And another question from the participants of the SNS, the one question is, I think you will receive this question recently, very common. Since the COVID-19 came into existence, what are the measures you have taken in place to help, especially for women and youth? Do you have any opinions or idea? Why don't you start, Mr. Dreffel?
Yes, we did a lot of things during the COVID. In fact, for me, when I introduced karate in the children martial arts, it's like a virus, same to the COVID. So the children, they like karate and they want to practice. But all the gymnasium was closed because we use a government gymnasium and nothing. Then we started, because we started on Zoom and WhatsApp. So every children, we made a group, and all the children, each time they had to do some of the moves that I asked them to do, and all of them was always sending me until the lockdown went low, and the children came at my place. I have a very large space on my roof, but we respected all the sanitary measures, and we did practice. We did that because it's only on 1st September that we got access to the gymnasium. But we did a very big, nice job. We made a lot of videos. Every children practiced their karate. They sent to me. Then I made my comment. And all the parents was motivated because we make a very big group. Yeah.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Kanute, do you have any opinion about these questions?
As everyone knows, the COVID-19 has caused a lot of damage to so many things. In the Gambia, all the sports activities were stopped, or sports activities are stopped, and wrestlers usually do their trainings at gyms or at their training schools or on the beach. But all these places were closed, so they don't have access to all these places to do any participation or any training. So unless some of them who has their gyms at their house will try to keep fit and to be training in order to maintain their stamina.
Okay, thank you for your comment. And right now we are already 7 p.m. It is according to our schedule, we should finish at 7 o'clock. But when I participate this webinar, I really think the importance of our actual the offline meetings, because we have many questions, we have a lot of things to discuss. But because of this, the internet connection issues, some technical problems, we cannot discuss enough time and the contents. I'd like to apologize for the participants of our audience, so the technical problems, and also I'd like to apologize our presenters, Mr. Kanute, because you prepare a lot of contents, very good presentation, but I'm sorry to miss your opportunity to share your own ideas. But I think maybe our Africa Martial Arts Regional Congress is not the end. Maybe some days when it starts again, and then based on our discussions today, we can continue the research and discussions and co-op. I'd like to thank both of you who give us good inspiration for the positive role of martial arts in African youth and women. And also I'd like to thank the audience who are watching our webinar until late time in Korea, and also many people in Africa. You belongs to different time zone, but you participate our webinar for a long time. I'd like to really express our thanks to all of you. And hopefully this Congress, in some days, I think all of us will remember our discussions today, because the load is not simple. Yeah, there are many difficulties and challenges we should overcome, but African martial arts, it is a great the cultural resource and traditions of the human beings. So some days the African martial arts will contribute to make the piece of culture, and also contribute to enforce the cultural diversity and in our human societies. So I'd like to thank to all of the participants and presenters, and also the ICM who organized these great conferences. Thank you, and let's finish our session 2. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much, Professor Han, for wonderful chairing in session 2. And we apologize for the disconnection of the participants from the Gambia. So allow me to say, all the viewers, please understand the internet situation in Gambia was unstable. And Mr. Kanute, his presentation will be uploaded at our webpage after today's session. So please refer to that. And now I would like to thank all the speakers in session 2. And it was a very passionate session. And it was a huge takeaway through interactive discussion for me. Now, as Professor Han mentioned, it's 7:03 in Korea time, it's evening, but still I know it's a daytime in Africa. So now we are going to conclude all the sessions in day 1 of 2020 Third African Martial Arts webinar, and we will continue to session 3 and session 4 tomorrow from 4 p.m. local time in Korea, it's the same time, and 10 a.m. in Eastern Africa, and 9 a.m. in Southern Africa, and 8 a.m. early in the morning in Western Africa tomorrow. So please render your continuous participation in tomorrow's sessions as well. And I look forward to meeting you tomorrow again. Once again, I was Chang Han, Program Specialist of UNESCO ICM. See you tomorrow, and thank you very much for being with us today. Have a great day and have a great evening. 감사합니다.